But what do you think's going to happen with coffee prices this year? What's your view on Brazil, if you want to give that,
Sure.
or Robusta, if you want to talk about a market that nobody's paying attention to right now?
Yeah, I think nobody's really paying attention to Robusta because one of the theorems of 2020 was that everybody was buying more coffee in supermarkets, therefore it must be lower quality, therefore it must be a Robusta story.
Yeah.
And I think people got dragged on that bandwagon for a little while until they realized, wait a second, the supermarket sales that we're seeing are actually whole bean and pods, which aren't Robusta.
Yeah.
So Robusta's actually not been the winner of that extra supermarket demand. So I think that's kind of moved to the sidelines. For me going forward, I'm a pretty pragmatic person, so I've not believed in the overly hyped, let's say, lower end of the Brazil range. You know, for me, I think that an Arabica crop, probably close to my peers, 34, 35 million bags makes sense. I struggle to believe in a 30 million bag number or on the lower end of those ranges. Conalon's over 20, you know, maybe 21 million bags, just to put some figures out there. And what does that mean? It means that the Brazil balance sheet should tighten. You know, we're exporting a significant amount of coffee. The big question mark becomes, well, how big was 2021? And if the exports continue as large as they've been, well, not that they have to continue as large, usually they start tapering off, but if they continue larger than normal, we're just gonna have to start increasing that crop. And if we increase it enough, then we might find there was enough supply to get us through even that lower off-cycle Arabica production figure. And then again, for me, the big storyline will be vegetative growth and crop potential for 22, 23. And we'll see that when we get the rains in September, October. So for me, I would tell you that my general view of the market is that I'm constructive probably for the second half more than I am for the first half of the year. Kind of view that we've got opposite polar forces. Some are positive, some are negative. Yes, there is that Brazil storyline, but against that you've got ICE certified stocks, which just keep going up. There's been more coffee graded than I expected. The pass rates have been better than I expected. The certs are higher than I expected. That should have a pull on spreads, and probably spreads further down the curve than what we originally thought. You know, maybe if we were thinking things could get tight by July SEP or SEP deck, now we're like, oof, maybe that spread tightness could only come in 22. You know, it's not happening in 21 because of how the certs are coming, so that's a negative impact. So I think you have those counterbalances that are there. So, you know, for me, this first part of the year is really all about ranges. You know, and don't get too caught up on the high end, don't get too discouraged on the low end of the range. And then maybe we get that window of opportunity going into the second half of the year for better quality rally to develop.
Yeah, so, and then if there is some problem with the vegetative growth, then things get exciting.
Sure. But, if 22, 23 is compromised, then, you know, hey, all bets are off. You know, or if that demand really comes back meaningfully, you know, maybe again, all bets are off at that point. But I just remember that by the time of the NCA of 2019, everybody was so focused on the 2021 surplus, and roasters are like, yeah, Brazil's get tight, but we'll just draw down the pipeline. So no big deal. We'll just wait for the surplus that comes afterwards. So, you know, that's kind of led me to go, don't get overly bulled up, even if you feel that there's a storyline there. So, you know, I always tell the younger traders, again, the eye rolling adages, buy low, sell high. And they're like, that's so obvious. They're like, so obvious, so obvious. And I'm like, well, talk to a technical trader. They tend to buy high and want to sell higher. But oftentimes a technical trader will buy high and sell low. You know, talk to somebody who sells options, you know, negative gamma. They're buying high and they're selling low. You know, it's not as easy. It's not as simple as what the adage sounds. But, you know, oftentimes when we look at markets, we're like, okay, is $1.30 high or is it low? All right, let's look at it historically speaking. Yeah, it's probably on the higher side of things. Does it mean it can't go higher? Of course not. Of course it can go to 140, 150. We can go higher. But I think you just always have to keep that bigger historical perspective in play. You know, GameStop at $3 may be cheap. GameStop at $400 is not cheap.